For those of you online, we'll just be starting here in 1 minute. All right. I think she'll. I'm just going to grab water and then we'll get started. Yeah, you can pull up command.
Hello?
Sorry, what was that? Hey, Joanne.
Oh, hey. Okay.
How's it going?
It's good. Thank you. I wasn't sure what was going on just now. But
Yeah,
okay.
we're about to start here in 1 minute. I'm just going to grab a water and we'll get started on DocuSign.
Okay. Perfect.
All right. All right, so to get started on DocuSign, so first I just want to show you where the DocuSign notes are. So that's why I'm on KWB resources on my screen. So if you'd like to navigate here as well to kwbresources.com, I'll show you where the notes are for DocuSign, so you can grab that anytime. So again, this is kwbresources.com, and right, this is your internal site, so where all the information sits for KWB agents specifically. I just want to point out on the home page here, right? So if you scroll down past the headshots of our staff, you'll always see this video right on the KWB homepage. Right, so it'll always be right here. That is the DocuSign overview. So, if you have a transaction in a month and forget everything I say, that's okay. You can always come back here and it'll take you through it step by step. It's just on the homepage of KWB resources. You will have to scroll down, but it's right above the office calendar. You can, yeah, you can find Scott Leroy marketing videos. There's links up here to Scott Leroy marketing stuff as well. But this is kwbresources.com is, just for our internal stuff. And there'll be links to like Scott Leroy marketing, but I'm not sure if you're thinking of maybe like slmtips.com has like different tip videos as well. Right, yes. Monday through Friday, they teach, yeah. I would recommend coming to this class as far as, yeah, you're doing the right thing, right. Yeah, Scott Leroy Marketing's classes are great to go to as well, but as far as for DocuSign goes, this is where you can watch it just instantly to get that information. And just to point out where the written notes are, so if you like written notes as well, I have more tip videos and written notes. If you hover over tech resources and then click that second option down, for Tech Tuesday calendar. We still need to update this for the new year. We'll do that today. But if you scroll on down here, I just want to point out where the DocuSign notes are. So it's like that fourth option down under the calendar. So again, where I got here was under Tech Resources. And then I clicked on the second option for Tech Tuesday. And you'll scroll down and find the DocuSign option. And this will have all the DocuSign notes so that you have it. This is a Google Doc, so it updates. So anytime there's new updates in DocuSign, this is where I update the videos. So it's always the most up-to-date videos, always the most up-to-date notes. So if you like notes on how to do it, I'll be following along on this one. So I'll pull that up to show you, those are the steps to do a transaction command. But other than that, what you're seeing here is the next videos that you can watch. It's going to break down what I'm talking about in class even further. So these are like 10-minute videos on how to access your forms or how to pre-fill templates, right? So these videos will break down what I'm saying even further. Hey, come on in. All right, so again, where we found those are under KWB resources, and under tech resources, we have Tech Tuesday calendar, right? And for that DocuSign. I just want to point out as well in these notes here that I am going to go through these steps. So there's about 10 steps to start a transaction in Command, and we're going to do that together. All right, and that's written right here on the top. So just in case you like written notes, I'll be referring to this back and forth to show you how you can, refer to this when you're not with me as well. All right. So first thing we're going to do, as it says here on the notes, is log into agent.kw.com. So anytime that you go to start a transaction, in command with DocuSign, you start it in command. So that's very important. Okay, so again, really important to note that we are always starting our transactions directly from command, okay? We do not go to DocuSign directly to start our transactions, okay? I'll show you way more about that, but for right now, you need to know that you go to command to start all your transactions. So the first thing I'm going to do is have you guys double check that DocuSign is linked to command, so you can use the two together. So in command here, you're going to want to click on your name on the top right, and then settings from that dropdown. So that'll show you all the apps that you have currently linked up to command, so we can double check that DocuSign is one of them. So again, I clicked on my name on the top right of command, and then settings. Just let me know if I lose you or if you have questions. Now, yours will be in a slightly different order. That's all right, but you should see DocuSign near the top, and you want to see a connected status next to it. If you don't see it near the top, scroll down to find that. All right, it might prompt you for a password, but do you have yours connected? Good. Do you have yours connected? Awesome. And Joanne, just let me know if you need any help there. But it should be connected. Scott Leroy Marketing does that for you as part of your setup. So that's why it's normally connected up. All right, so now that we're all set with that, we can dive into those steps to start a transaction in command. Now, before we go through those steps, if you can follow me to click on the opportunities icon. So it'll be that handshake icon on the left-hand side menu about halfway down. Okay, so opportunities and DocuSign work as one within command. Okay, so anytime you see opportunities, that's where you go in to DocuSign. So opportunities is managing your transaction. Okay, so this opportunities tab right here, what you'll see is you'll see 3 different pipelines, and we have a whole opportunities class that I dive way deeper into this. Main thing you need to know what you're looking at is, great, you're given 3 different pipelines here, and this is a very visual tool, so you can see, okay, how many people do I have in the cultivate phase, appointment, active, under contract, and then our favorite is closed, right? And we can set ourselves up checklists in each one of those. So if I see that I have one of my transactions in that first cultivate phase, I can check my checklist to see, okay, what action items do I need to take to get that moved down to the appointment phase right here? And so on and so forth. And you'd have a separate checklist that with action items of all the things you would need to do once you have that appointment to move it to active. Okay, and I'll show you guys this more in deeper. Right now, I want to show you the concept of it. This is going to be a visual pipeline all the way from when you get the lead to closed. So how you want to be using this as opposed to your contact database. Okay, so how these two work together. So you can see where my mouse is, right? Those are your contacts right here. That's going to be all of your contacts. So in theory, every single person you know should be in the contact section. Even if they're not looking to buy or sell right now, it allows you to automate touches to your sphere if they're in the contact section, okay? So again, everyone you know in the contacts at the top here. Whereas if you have a meaningful conversation with someone about real estate, that's when you should be adding them to your pipeline. So whether they tell you, hey, I'm looking to buy or sell within the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next year, whatever you want to gauge that timeline, when you have that meaningful conversation, that's when we come in and create an opportunity. So, and we'll do this together, but just to differentiate, what I'd love for you guys to really try to focus on, what a lot of existing agents do is they only come in here when they're under contract. So yes, you have to put your paperwork in here to get paid, but it's also bigger than that in that it can be used if you put your opportunities in here when you're growing that lead, let's say a year out, or if you talk to, let's say 3 different people even, and they're all looking to buy a year out, well, it gets pretty messy in your head. Okay, what have I done for that one transaction versus these other transactions, right? This will allow you to manage those transactions separately. I'm just going to show you on mine like a preview of the concept of it. And again, we'll dive more into this. But the tool allows you to, for example, like if I click on this first stage, so this little plant icon, like it's growing the relationship, like you just met, you just had some sort of meaningful conversation about real estate. So you came in here, and we'll do this, guys. We'll click create opportunity and we'll put them in here. Okay. The reason we do that, right, when we first talk to them is then look how powerful powerful this tool becomes, okay? So let's say I add, and every person I have a meaningful conversation with, and I have to-do list items in here. Now you do have to add these items, and that's in the opportunities class. I'll get more to that. But right now what you need to know is what this does in general. So I went in and I added checklist items of all the things I need to do when they're about 6 to 12 months out. When they're about 3 to 6 months out, I have a totally separate checklist, right? And then if I move this guy, let's say, to now he's ready to sell right now, you can see the checklist updates again. So I have 5 new tasks that I need to be doing at this stage in the transaction, right? So it's very cool that as you pull the transaction down your pipeline, it updates the action items you need to do automatically on it, so you know exactly what to do at each stage of the transaction. Isn't that cool? Yes, that is. Yeah, right. It keeps you on track. I mean, when you talk to so many people, the day after you're like, oh, that's crystal clear. I'll remember that. 1 week later, it's like, who? Yeah. Right. And so this allows you to, you can make it like remind you in a week later, it really allows you control. Now, the only con or downside is if you've come to the opportunities class, you know that you have to add in those checklist items, right? And I have templates that you can just copy and paste it over. So we'll talk about that at the end of class. I'm going to come back to this because this is honestly the opportunity side, but I want you to know this exists because this can really set you apart from other agents because it can really keep you on track on what's going on with their transaction specifically. Great. We'll dive more into that. So know that that's a big reason that we want to be adding our opportunities. So I'll click on opportunities again right here. We want to be adding our opportunities when you have a meaningful conversation, right? As opposed to what other agents are doing, they just put it in when they go under contract to get paid. And well, you have to do that too, but then you might as well use it as a tool to grow your business. Okay. So we'll get back to that. All right, I'm going to show you now how to start and do a transaction in Command. I'm going to show you how you can access your forms, send them for electronic signature, and submit the signed paperwork for compliance review so you can get paid. Okay, so that's what we're going to do first. So in this opportunity section, right, you can click Create Opportunity on the top right. Right, so just know you can do that right there. However, I'm going to take you a slightly different way. I want you to know that you can do it both ways. So this is under the Opportunities tab. The Action button's always on the top right. But instead, if you can come with me to the Contact section, all right, the way that I prefer, and a lot of agents prefer to find their opportunities and start opportunities is actually from your contacts, okay? Because ideally that contact needs to be in your database as that first step, okay? So in theory, that first step is we're adding that contact in. Now, if you have a practice contact you want to go ahead and practice on, you can search for them. Or if you want to click on Add Contact on the top right here to add a practice contact, you absolutely can. Okay, so let's say I'll add practice contact. And then if you have a personal email that's not already in your database, I do recommend using it as your practice contact. It won't let you add duplicates, but if you go ahead and, if you want to try it, it'll tell you if it's a duplicate. Also, this is good for you guys to see because where it says add a relationship. So what Command wants, it does not want you to put husband and wife as one contact, for example. Like it does not want John and Jane Smith as one contact name. Those would be separate. So this, for example, would be John Smith. Then you'll see this add relationship button where we can go ahead and indicate the spouse, or if they have another relationship, but let's say the spouse is already in your database or you want to add them there. You can see it starts searching my database and it will link them up. Right? But if they're not already in your database, you can add their name and click add. It's just adding their name to your database. So you'd need to go back and add their contact. Okay, so again, John and Jane Smith would be 2 separate contacts so they can both separately sign the forms is the idea. Of course, there's more that you can add here, but for today's class, that's all we need. So I'll go ahead and click create. But please let me know if you have questions on any of this. So I clicked on create. And so what it's doing, it's saying I already have a contact with that. So that's how you'll know, which is great. So you don't get duplicate contacts in there. All right, and it'll take you into the contact. Now, if you're just practicing on a different contact, feel free to click on any contact in your database to go ahead and open that up so we can create a transaction. So, right, opportunity is a word I keep saying, and that's really just as corny as it sounds, right? You create an opportunity each time that you have an opportunity for a transaction. Yeah, so I like to go in through the contacts. On the right-hand side, you'll see opportunities. The reason I like going in here is if I already created an opportunity for this person and I forgot, I can see it right here, right? So I can see any opportunities that I've created for this transaction, whether it's on the buy side or the sell side. So to give you an idea, if you are helping a client sell their home and then buy the next home, that would be two separate opportunities because it's two separate transactions, okay? So you'll create an new opportunity for each property, okay? That's how that works. And it'll get clear as we go through this because you'll see why. So under opportunities, let's go ahead and click to create opportunity. Okay, and now from here, there's really three main fields that we have to fill out. Okay, I know there's a lot of fields here. The ones I want to point your attention to is, first of all, opportunity type. That's where we're selecting if this is a listing or a buyer, landlord, or tenant. So in this case, if you want to do listing or buyer, either one, they're similar. I'll do buyer for today's class. I usually do listing. All right, so first opportunity type. Now then one down, we have the client is autofilling, right? Because we're creating it right from there. That would be the second thing you would need to fill out. So if there is a client and a co-buyer, right? It auto suggested the wife in this example because I have her contact linked. And then now the third and final field we have to fill out is this commission rate. All right, this is changeable, but you generally just want to put in, what you charge for your side of the transaction normally. So I'd recommend starting that with 3%. If they haggle you down at the end, you can always change that. All right, but so again, the three fields that you have to fill out here is opportunity type, buyer seller, or buyer listing. Put in the client is 2, and 3 is commission rate. And if you have questions, I'm here for them. All right, and on the bottom here, just since we did look at the opportunity pipeline, right? That's what you're seeing on the bottom here, right? You're putting, okay, I'm cultivating the relationship, but if you were actually active or under appointment, you could change that here. But that's what these bottom ones are correlating to. And I'll click create. So you'll see now on the right-hand side of my contact record, I see like a little 1 next to my opportunities. So anytime I'm looking at a contact, I can really easily see if I have any transactions or opportunities started for that client, right? And I can always click right here to access that opportunity. So again, when I go back to my opportunities after I create it, I find this to be the most efficient way to click on the contact, right? Search for that contact, and it'll always be right in the contact record. And you can go ahead and click on that opportunity name to open it up. And this is where things really get exciting. I need to get out more. So this right here is all the details that will autofill onto all of your forms in DocuSign, okay? Because we're about to go into DocuSign. This is where we access DocuSign from within the opportunity, okay? So it'll take you to the details first. All right, but really we need to hop on over to documents. All right, so if you can click on documents here. Okay, there's a really important step here. If you've taken my class, it's probably jammed in your head, hopefully at least. So before we click on start a transaction, so do not click this yet. We're going to click on to get to DocuSign, but before you click start a transaction, it's really important that you pick a checklist type first. The reason is if you select one of these checklists first before selecting start a transaction, it'll automatically pull in all the forms that you need marked with this blue DS. Exactly. So pick checklist type, and depending if you're doing like a listing or buyer, these checklists will differ for you. Sabra and Tasha, they create these checklists here to show you all the things that you would need for a North Carolina sale or a North Carolina listing. Again, these checklist options will be different depending on if you selected a buyer opportunity at the beginning or a listing opportunity. So that's what changes it. But in general, like if you picked a buyer, you would want to pick the like North Carolina sales file, for example, or South, of course. But whatever you pick here, when now that I've selected those, and just so you guys know, for like the sales files, you'll see on the left-hand side, right, 3 different folders, and especially with sales files, right, it's just the sample forms are in the first folder, all right, and those are, yeah, for the first one, but when you go under contract. So that's really when you're doing a buyer side, where things really start to get where you need to add your paperwork is when you go under contract. And we'll talk about when to submit for compliance review and all of that once we get to the signing part. But, you know, in general, just so you guys know, we'll come back to this. You'll see all the under contract. This is where a majority of the forms are on the buyer side. Listings do have, you know, of course, more in the first folder for the listing. The main takeaway here, though, is select the checklist first. Now we can go click Start a Transaction. So it will add all of these forms marked with a blue DS. If you don't do that, if you don't pick a checklist first, it just won't automatically add your forms. You can go get them manually, but you just have to go get like, you know, 10 different forms manually as opposed to it being in there for you already. All right, so when you click Start a Transaction, again, after we pick a checklist, it'll probably just take you right to DocuSign. I have .loop linked up as well, but you probably do not. If it doesn't pop right up, it's probably because of a pop-up blocker on your computer, which is pretty normal. So if you do click Start a Transaction and a new window doesn't pop up, look in your URL bar. You should have like a little window with an X indicating that the pop-up was blocked. And then DocuSign will pop up in a separate window like this. And I can help. Did it?
Can I stay on the?
Yeah, you're good there. Yeah. And you clicked on Start Transaction.
Oh, wait.
Well, it says go to transaction now, which means that you already clicked on Start
Oh, okay.
Transaction. Was that previously or did I?
I don't think so. I think this was a different color and I clicked on it. I did click on it.
Okay, after you selected a checklist though?
Huh?
After you pick the checklist probably, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So click go to transaction. Yeah, I think it's, yeah, that right there. See that? Look, it doesn't even have an X though on Max. That's good to know.
Huh.
So now, and now it shouldn't do that anymore either. It should remember that. So just in case you're on a Mac online, you know, it will just show you 2 little windows at the top if it's blocking it. Good to know, yes. And then you will need your login and password for DocuSign. That's one of those passwords you need like once a day to log in for security. So unfortunately, you do need to remember that one. I know another password to remember, and the difference between Command and DocuSign login is usually the username for Command is and not your email versus DocuSign, your login, your username is your email address. Okay, and I can see now that all of these forms have automatically been added for me, right? Because I selected the checklist first. That's why all of these got brought in. Now, let's just say you forgot to select the checklist or you need an additional form. Like let's say there's another, I don't know, you need a floodplain form or whatever it is in the case, you need an additional form. So I'm going to show you how you can add more forms. So from here, so I'm in the Documents tab in DocuSign, right? And I'm going to click on Add on the top right. Okay, that icon second down, right, that says DocuSign Forms. I just want to point out, see how that blue icon is the same blue icon that's on all of these forms? That will tie back. That means those are all interactive, meaning I can just click and start typing in them. Okay, so to get more interactive forms, I can just click on Add and that second option down to get more of that icon. And if it says something at this point like you do not have access to your forms, let me know because we just need to add your NERDS ID in. Does yours say that? Okay, great. Great. So here on the left-hand side, so this is the packets up top is what Sabra and Tasha work on, like grouping your forms to make them easier to find. So I prefer to just select whatever the case is, like if this is a North Carolina listing or sale. I can, like, just to note the difference between the libraries on the bottom, this would just be like all the North Carolina forms in a folder and all the South Carolina forms versus this is just the buyer forms, this is just the seller forms, right? So that's just broken down. So you can select whichever folder you might need, you know, an extra form from. You'll notice you cannot add again forms that are already in your room. So if it says in use, that means it's just already in here. So no biggie if you wanted to add another one, you know, depending on what it is, right? I simply click the checkbox. I could select multiple and click add selected. Okay. So what I'm going to show you next is how to edit your forms and how you can either just print them out to bring it on your appointment, or you can send for electronic signatures. You can do either one, right? So this is where you go anytime you need to access a form or get a form. This is where you go to do so. And if you need to print it out, I'll show you that in this next step here. All right, so in this case, I'll go ahead and click on the exclusive buyer agency to practice on. But you can use really any form. They all function the same. So I'll click on the form to open it. Yeah, if you want to. Exciting stuff right now. And I'll open up the form for you. And just so you guys know, these forms auto-fill back and forth between each other. So for example, if this form doesn't call for the address, but if there was a form we wrote the address in, right? And it would autofill then on every other form that required the address. So just so you guys know, it's as easy as clicking to start typing. So let's say this one's John Smith and Jane Smith. It does not want you to add "and" in the middle, by the way. And then, you know, we're typing in. So you're just typing in the form here as you normally would. So filling in the form is pretty intuitive. You know, you click to start typing. You can check off any of the radio dots by just clicking on them. So filling out the form is pretty intuitive, just noting you will not see initial boxes on this page, and that's normal. But the first step you would take is scroll through the form and fill it out, right? That would be your first step. If you're not sure what to put in it, that would be your coach or one of those, right? T group is another one, right? Coach.
Oh, no, T group. You're
It would be T group. Okay, so if you're not sure what to put in the form, that would be your T group. I can show you the how, of course. However, so once we fill out this entire form, we can do one of two things, okay? We can either print it out and bring it on our appointment, or we can send it for electronic signature. Now, either choice we take, the first thing we need to do once we fill out the form is save and close it. That's always a step, even before printing it. We're going to save and close it. Okay, and if you already did that, great, I wanted you to, but just watch on my screen for a second because I want to note the document actions up here. So it's an icon that looks like a folded sheet of paper in the corner there. So just so you know, I'm going to show you that you can do all of these things like printing it right from here. Okay, now I need to save and close it before I can print it from here with those additions. So that's why I told you to go ahead and save and close it. Or I can show you how to do any of these in bulk on this next screen, okay? So again, what I'm doing is clicking save and close. And then let's say my goal is now to bring this on my appointment so I can explain it to my buyer and have them hand sign it in front of me, okay?
We can put our initials in here already?
No, yeah, not yet for the signing. Not yet. So on this phase, you can fill out the form. You just can't sign or initial anywhere yet. So I'm about to show you. Yeah, so if the track you want to take though is to print it out and bring it and like hand sign it, right, with them, like have them hand initial it, you can do that by clicking the checkbox on the top. And right, I could do multiple. So if I wanted to print out this one and the working with real estate agents and the sample, whatever it may be, of course, my first step is to go through and open the form and type in anything I would need to fill in, right? So once I've done that and click to save it, I can then come here and click the check boxes, and then you'll see this menu appear, okay? So this menu, and I'll show you that again, this menu isn't even here until you click check boxes, so I just want you to be aware of that. So this is where you could go, though, to click print, okay? Once I click the check boxes, now I can go ahead and print those. So just know I'm going to like remove these check boxes so you can see that that menu is not there at all. So now you see it. Now you don't, right? So just so you guys aren't confused by that, you do have to click the checkbox to see the bulk actions that you can do with multiple forms, like printing it out or downloading it. Of course, I could click onto the form to go back into the document actions to print it from here if I just needed that one form and I wanted to check over it again. Okay, so that is how you could print it. Like if they do not love technology or you're going there anyway and want to explain it to them, you can absolutely hand sign it and have them hand sign it. However, of course, the point of DocuSign is to allow you to send this electronically for them to electronically sign it. So how we do that, okay? So again, since we saved and closed it, all right, I'm going to show you that the option exists up here, right? So when we click on this icon on the top right, you don't have to click it from here. You can, either one. Create envelope is what we're going to be doing next, okay? I want to show you that you can do this in bulk as well, because typically maybe I would want to send the buyer agency and the working with real estate agents all together, right? If I want to send multiple forms at once, same concept. I'm checking the forms I would like to send for electronic signature. And then on this bulk action menu, you can hover your mouse over each icon to see what it does. The pen icon is always the create envelope, and I'll explain what that means. So anytime we want to send something for electronic signature, the pen icon is what we're looking for. Okay. And when we click on that, it'll ask, okay, who do we want to send this to? So this is where we're putting, let's say, our buyer 1 and 2, if that's the case. Since this is a form that we have to sign, I can select the buyer agent as well. Okay, when we're signing the form, we want to add ourselves to the envelope. Okay, so I keep saying envelope. Like, what the heck does that mean, right? So, yeah, right? JuLeah. Like I like to channel snail mail when I try to make sense of this here. So you'll see once it loads. Okay, what's the first thing you would do if you were going to physically mail forms to your client in the mail, right? You would grab an envelope and stuff the forms in it. So that's what we've done so far, right? We grabbed an envelope by clicking on that pen icon and added those documents. Now, the next thing we're going to do is add the people to the front of the envelope to send it to, right? So that's what I'm looking at here under Add Recipients. We clicked on that pen icon, remember? So if you click on, yeah, you got it, exactly. Yep, so then you can click on like the buyer agent option and buyer 1 and buyer 2 if you have to. The main things to know here, so it should autofill their email address over. It didn't for whatever reason. However, what you should be seeing here is your client's email address. And if it didn't this time, you know, now that you add it in, it should have that in there for all the other ones, right? But you want their email address in here so that they can sign. Okay, so what I'm looking at here is my 2 clients, they need to sign, okay? And this is the email address it'll go to. All right, and here's mine that I need to sign. Okay. Now, there's one more thing you guys need to know, and that is the signing order. It doesn't affect a whole lot. It's just really something you need to know. You have 2 options here, and I might suggest this first one. You can uncheck set signing order, and it will send the form to all of the parties to sign at once, okay? Now, if you leave it checked, so let's say I have it checked, which it is off default, as you guys can tell, right? This was like this by default. So all it's going to do is if you leave it like this, it's going to send it to John Smith first, because he has a 1, and it will not go to the second person until John Smith does what he needs to do, which is signing. So if you leave it like this, it'll go to John Smith. When he signs, then it'll go to Jane Smith. When she signs, then it will go to the buyer agent, right? Yeah, exactly. And there's some great benefits to that. It's just important when you're explaining to your clients that you don't email them both. If you do this way and say, hey, I just sent the form over, because only one would see it, right? Until they've signed. So either way is fine. It's just more that you need to know when you're explaining to them that you just sent it over. So when in doubt, if you just unselect it, it'll send it to all of them at once. And that's what I would recommend. There are some reasons for setting the signing order. Like you can automatically make the executed contract go to your admin or to the mortgage provider. But in general, having them all receive it at once is absolutely fine. So either way, do you have any questions on that? Okay, great. And then lastly, I can write a note down here. Like if you talked about something on the form that you want to reference here, you absolutely can. I usually leave it blank and then click next. And this is the final step and where you'll see the initial boxes and signature fields display. So this final step here, what you're doing is you're looking over the form and making sure they can sign. So I'm not adding anything in this step. Since I added who the clients were, I can now see, like on the bottom of page 1, let's say, the initial boxes. And you'll notice that each initial box are a different color, and it correlates to the circle. So on the top left here, right, you'll see those clients' names and the color that's coordinating to them. So I can tell by just quickly eyeing over, okay, John Smith can sign here, Jane Smith, and then I'll sign there, right? So I can see very easily as I scroll down that they're all 3 able to sign. I can also tell that easily on the right-hand side. See how I have these tabs right here? It's showing me that all 3 clients would be able to sign. The gray tab is notating that they're like fillable fields on there, but the gray fields only you're able to change, so they wouldn't be able to. Right, but really all I'm doing is going through and making sure, like it automatically sets it up, so it's usually correct. But I'm just going through making sure they can sign everywhere. And if I want to be extra sure, the final step I usually do is I like to preview it, but you don't have to, but you could click on preview on the top right here. And I could choose to preview this as whichever client. So I could choose, let's say, to be Jane Smith. And it's going to show me how it will look exactly when Jane Smith goes to sign it. So when she opens the form and clicks on start, it's going to take her down to the first field to sign. And then the second one, right? It takes her down. So you're looking, of course, it's not actually signing for her, but it's helping you sleep at night knowing you set it up correctly. So I'm going to X out of that. So really, I'm just checking over it and Xing out on the top right. And I can click send. So there's nothing I'm really doing on this page except checking over. This is where all the initial fields and signature fields actually get added automatically by the system. So this is where you can go ahead and send that off. Or of course, if you come up to actions, you can save it. Save and close. I'll show you where that goes. I'm going to go ahead and send it so that I can show you what it looks like next. All right, but if you want to click on save and close or discard, you absolutely can. But now what I'm going to show you is what it looks like when you need to sign a form as an agent, and then what you do with your signed forms when they come back so you can get paid. This will be the final things we do. Okay, so what I'm looking at here, as you can see, I'm in the envelopes tab, right? We do most everything in DocuSign in the documents tab, right? That's where we went to grab our forms, fill them in. But then you'll also see in the envelopes tab, this is where you'll see a separate envelope, if you will. Each time that you send one or a group of forms, you'll see a separate envelope in here. So if I next go to send the contract and what a residential property disclosures, that would be a separate envelope in here each time I send it. Now, when you need to sign a form, like the buyer agency, you'll see that you have the option to sign it right from here, or it will email it to you as well. So I can click on needs my signature right here, right, or to click on the envelope. A couple of things are great about clicking on the envelope. So first of all, you'll see that you can sign it right from here. Again, it sends it to your email for you to sign as well. Another thing I really like by looking at this view is I can see, okay, did I send it all in ones, right? But primarily, okay, let's say only I have not gotten buyer 2 to sell, right? Buyer 1 signed it, buyer 2 saying they can't find it, right? What do I do? What I would do in that case is I would pull up the envelope like I did, and I'll show you how I got here again. But we can come up to more and resend, and it will only resend it to the people who have not signed. Okay, so I'm going to say that one more time. In the case, because you'll get this, right? People's inboxes are crazy messy, right? You send over the form, they're like, nope, it's nowhere. You didn't, you lie. And, and you're like, no, I sent it, right? And let's say they can't find it, right? But the other person has signed, 2 people have signed, this person hasn't. What we want to do, again, how I got here is I'm in my room in the envelopes tab. Okay, so the envelopes, I can see that I sent this group of forms. I would click on the envelope to then be given the option to resend it under more. So that gets used quite a lot. Okay, if you don't have questions on that section, I'm going to show you how signed forms work next. So I'm going to switch rooms. You can stay where you are, but just so you guys can see, I have signed forms in another room. So I want to show you the difference. Okay. All right, so I am in a different room that I got some signed forms back. So let's take a look at these icons now. Remember how I pointed out this blue icon here, right? It's the same icon that when we click on add, we can add more interactive forms, right? So any with the blue icon, I know I can click on and start typing in, okay? It's always the original copy of the form because when it comes back signed, so let's say I sent off that form and I get, what will happen when it gets signed? So let's say you have 2 clients that are signing the form. You get an email notification each time that a client signs, okay? And you'll see a copy of that form attached to the email signed by that one person, right? That one party. However, if you come into DocuSign, the signed copy of the form, right? So you can see that this says signed on it. The signed copy of the form does not come back until all parties sign, okay? So you'll get a notification each time that someone signs the form, and you'll get a copy of that form in your email. Okay, that gives you an email notification. However, if you come into DocuSign, you will not see the signed copy until all parties have signed. Okay, and when that happens, it comes back as a totally separate copy of the form. So you can see here, right, I have my exclusive right to sell, right, that blue form icon, meaning that was the one I started typing in. That's the original, and it will stay here forever. But when it comes back signed, a separate copy that's not editable anymore comes back to the room with this signed icon. I don't know if I actually have this one signed, no, but right, it would have the signatures on it, and also like it's not editable, right? Because it's going to preserve the signatures. So when you get those signed forms back, it will come back as a copy of the form that's in your room with this green signed icon. Just another example, the other icon is a PDF. So if you were to add a PDF to your DocuSign room, that's what that looks like. And you can edit PDFs with DocuSign. If you guys need to know that, I can show you that after. But our signed forms coming back, that's what we now need to add to command in order to get paid. Any questions before I switch to commands compliance? Okay, on signed forms? Great. Thanks. All right, so what I'm going to show you now is, okay, when I get my signed forms back, what do I do with them, right, to get paid? And this is when the opportunities works together with DocuSign. So on the top of your screen, you should see, right, the KW logo, probably says opportunities, and you'll see the DocuSign logo is the yellow logo with a down arrow, right, that says documents. So I'm going to click on the KW opportunities. Okay, and right, and we're in the documents tab here too. Okay, this very much confused me when I first started learning the system. Why is there a documents tab in the opportunity, but there's also a documents tab that we're working in DocuSign? What's the difference? How do they work together? Okay, so this is the answer. So your documents tab of DocuSign, okay, is used between you as the agent and your client to access your forms and get your forms signed. So again, DocuSign documents are used between you as the agent and your clients to get your forms signed. Once your forms are signed, that's when the documents tab of command and the opportunity comes into play. We add all of our signed documents here to submit it to the office to get paid. So documents in command in this opportunity is used between you as the agent and the office, okay? So command is agent and office, DocuSign, agent and client. To get it signed, then we add it to command so that we can submit it for compliance, right? Because they keep you guys out of like real estate jail, make sure you have everything signed, but then also that's how they release your commission check, which is the big bonus. So to show you guys how to put that in there, okay, how you put signed forms in here. So in that documents tab, and if I lost anyone, right, I am in the opportunity, and you will need to click on the documents tab. And on the left-hand side, right, this is where like the consultation, okay, the sample forms you don't even really need to add, right, because they're optional. So really where it starts for compliance is under contract for a buyer, okay, for listing, that's different. I'll talk about that in a second here. So the first thing I do when I'm going to put in my signed paperwork so I can get paid is I sort by the requirement. So what I'm looking at here is this is showing you a checklist of the forms you need to get paid. All right. So the required forms, you'll see required next to it versus conditional or optional. Conditional meaning like if it's on a floodplain, you would need a floodplain form, kind of deal. So I like to sort by the requirement. So I have all the required ones up top here. Okay, so that's putting all the required ones at the top. So these are all the forms I need to get paid for my contract file. So for example, the first thing is that working with real estate agents. So if I had it in my DocuSign room, right, I would come and do this after I've gotten my form signed, so that when you click on the select option, it will be able to pull any signed documents or PDFs automatically. Like I don't have any in this room right now. I didn't. Exactly. Like it's not showing me any of the unsigned forms, but as soon as you get a signed form, it just pops up right here and it'll say working with real estate agents. So you can click on it and it pops it right over. So that's an easy way to do it if you have it in DocuSign, right? So just to note that you can, like, let's say you got this hand signed, right? And you scanned it to your computer, okay? So in the case where, some people don't trust electronic signatures. So if you got it hand signed, we have scanners here that scan it to your email, right? So if you need to use that ever, just so you guys know, you can upload this from your computer as well. It will default to DocuSign because we started the DocuSign room, and that's probably where most of your documents signed will be. But if you ever need to upload it from your computer, right, so you could just scan it to your computer, and then now this is just browsing your files. Right, so then I can click on that, it's browsing my files, so I can just double click on it to pull it in, right, and it has it right here. Yeah, so to give you an idea of when we do this for a listing and when we do it for a buyer, let me show you the listing as well. You can stay where you are on your screen. Okay, just to show you like what a listing, oh no, this is buyer, so let me, 1 sec. All right, so I just want to show you, right, because those 3 folders on the left-hand side for buyers, right, that first one was a consultation, so there were just sample forms in there. As you can see for listings, there's a lot more on, of course, in the listed option. So to give you an idea of when you need to have your forms in to submit to MC, so you'll see the submit to MC option. You really only want to click that when you have all of your forms added in, because the office does not check your opportunities unless you click submit to MC. So let's talk about when we click submit to MC. So if you are representing the listing, you would want to click add all of your, signed forms, your listing signed forms in here within, table says 3 days after going active, but within the week ideally. So what I would be doing is adding my exclusive right to sell here, the residential property disclosure signed by the seller, right? The mineral oil gas disclosure signed by the seller, right? Those are things in the listing file here. So I would add all of those items, and in theory, within 3 to 7 days after going live in the MLS, I would then click submit to MC to submit my listing file to them, okay? They do all of the compliance for that and let you know, A, you're either missing a form or you're good to go in the listing. Then when you go under contract, you're going to submit it again. Right? And this would be the first time that you submit it for a buyer though. Okay. So for buyer, the first time that you click submit to MC is when you're under contract, right? For a listing, we've already done it once. So under contract, same concept, right? I go in and I add in all of my under contract forms here. And then I would click submit to MC. Again, in theory, 3 to 7 days after going under contract is your goal. And then a final time when you close. This is when you would put in like the CD, your closing statement, the closed MLS sheet, right? Any of these kind of options. So you can submit and they can give you your paperwork, or sorry, your check. Yeah.
MLS, okay, so when you select that, does that send those forms to the MLS?
No, yeah, so what this is saying, and this is for a listing, not a buyer. For a buyer, you don't need that. But if it's your listing, they do require that for each stage. Like I think even for active, there's the active MLS data sheet. Yeah. So they just want you to pull it up in the MLS and click like print to PDF. And then just to add that in there to prove that you did change. It doesn't send it to the MLS. Yeah, you have to go in the MLS to like change the status to closed or whatnot, and then, print it and put it in here. Or print to PDF is usually what I do. And then like, the CMA that you create to price the home. I know these are specific to listings, of course. But if you don't have your proof of square footage quite yet, that's all right. You can still submit it for review and they'll just leave you a love note that you need to add that to get paid. Yeah, from Carla. Carla does our compliance. All right, so that is the full what you do when you go under contract. Just noting that you would fill out an offer and commissions request as well when you go under contract. Okay, so where these notes are, just to give you an idea, on the DocuSign links, I think, yes, right here. I'll show you where these notes are again. But when you go under contract, this will be an ideal video for you to watch, and it'll just show you how to add all your paperwork to your opportunity and fill out the commission request, which I'm happy to show you guys if you want to see that. Oh, and like creating a commission request is right here as well. So again, where these notes are, and I would recommend, because I did not go over like pre-filling templates in DocuSign, that's kind of the next level. So if there's certain things you want to do, be able to pre-fill templates or sign it, get that signed in person, right? These are some extra like 10-minute videos that you can come watch after class. And where those are is on kwbresources.com. And then Tech Resources to Tech Tuesday. And I'll send this in the DocuSign chat or in the Zoom chat. And then we have to scroll down to find this DocuSign option. So this is the old calendar. We'll update that. DocuSign right here. So this is all those notes, the step-by-step written instructions, and then 10-minute videos that can expand on your knowledge. And if you have any questions on DocuSign, shoot me an email anytime. Our email is right here. I'll put it in the Zoom chat as well. I was a DocuSign specialist for like about 6 years at Scott Lorry Marketing, so I know it very well. Oh, sorry, Joanne. I don't know how long your hand has been raised, but I'm ready for a question. Sorry about
I
that.
just raised it. It's
Oh,
okay.
thank goodness.
When will you be having your opportunities class?
Good question. Let me see. Contact. Let me shoot you we just made a new calendar, which it might be on the Facebook Valentine page. But what I can do is let me show you, if you guys want to stick around for a second, I can show you where those checklists are to copy and paste those in. If you want to stick around for that. And then, Joanne, would you mind just shooting me an email with that question and I'll reply right back and give you more resources on that as well.
I'll do that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and just to show you guys, I don't think I have it on here. No. So, where the notes are on KWB resources, I also have so here is hovering over tech resources on kwbresources.com. And then it's the second option for Tech Tuesday. Oh, well, yeah, and then it's the old calendar first, but then scroll down. I think I'm gonna switch them around, put the notes up top. I'll do that. The very bottom or near the very bottom is transaction management. Those are my opportunities. That's my opportunity class notes. And the opportunities and DocuSign, as you can see, work really closely together, right? So you'll probably see some repeating videos in here. But what we're talking about right here, setting up those checklists. So these bottom 3 right here, and I'll show you this real quick, but you can watch it after. Set up opportunity checklists. That's what we're talking about. You can activate client update emails. I didn't tell you this, but those checklists can automatically email your client and say like, oh, in the past 24 hours, your wonderful agent has done these 3 things on the checklist. So if you want your clients to be informed that you're checking things off, like when you're active or under contract, right? You can set that up. That's what this is. But that opportunity checklist template, this right here, is what I was referencing. If you click on that, it's going to look a little overwhelming, but stick with me, okay? And this is what we'll do in the opportunity class. So we can play with that further, and I can make like a workshop where we just do this. We're having like an extra workshop on Thursdays now, so this could be our first workshop. So what you're looking at here is I'm going to correlate this to command. So if you open that up, and I'm going to go back to command and go to the opportunities tab, right? That's where we see our pipeline. right? And this is honestly probably my favorite feature Command has, right? Because I love checklists, and I love that the checklists update as you pull it down depending on where you are with the transaction. There's just no other software I found that does that. All right, so if I click on, let's say, the first phase. So, you're seeing that listing and the buyer checklist, right? These would all have to be put in separately. So you can see this is a little bit of a tedious exercise, but once it's done, it is done forever. And you have literally every step you need to take of a whole transaction, right? So how you do that, right? So I have the checklist, and in case I lost anyone, I clicked on the opportunities tab in Command, and then I clicked on the cultivate phase of the listing pipeline. And then you'll see stages and checklists on the very top right here. Yep, exactly. Stages and checklists. And so this is where you'll see, first of all, I edited my stage names. Like I think by default, yours says something like watch, nurture, hot, something like that. Oh, no. Yep, exactly. And that'll be changing it for all of them. So first of all, totally up to you, right? This is totally based on your business. But the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted a time frame for me to understand the difference between watch, nurture, and hot, right? So if you do want to add like the 6 to 12 months, 3 to 6 months, ready to sell after it, all you do is click the pencil icon to the far right. And it will allow you to change the name, okay? And just so you understand what we're doing with that Excel spreadsheet I had you bring up that looks overwhelming, these are the same names right here. So this is where I got them. You can copy this right in. So if you do want to copy it, right, you can click on it to Control C to copy it, Command C if you have a Mac. And then I could Command V and go ahead and add that in. Command V or Control V as in Victor. I don't recommend adjusting the probability at all. Someone who's good at math created that, and what it's doing is calculating your probable income versus the total income. I can show you that more, but for right now, just leave it. That's what you need to know. So then I can go through and do that for each one. Like if I want to change nurture to 3 to 6 months and hot to whatever that actually says to ready to sell. That's how you can change the stage names. Then the checklist, I just click on, yours probably says 0 out of 0. And I can simply click on the 0 out of 0 checklist to start copying and pasting these in. So just ignore these because I do this a lot in class. Okay, so let's say you have nothing in here. That's normal, okay? I would click add item. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch back and forth between this opportunities tab and this Excel spreadsheet. So I'm gonna come over here, and I'm gonna come over to this first cell, Control C, or right click to copy, however you're comfortable to copy. Come over to opportunities, we're pasting it in. And I don't usually fill out anything else here. See this little toggle though? If it's an item you want your client to be told about, typically it wouldn't be this early on. There would be more things like when you go live and you're putting the sign out and lockbox out and things like that. But if you want it to be an item they're emailed and told that you did it, you can check that on. For right now, leave it off for anything in this field, but we'll click create. Just know that's what that does. So then we do it again. Okay, we're in the opportunities one. Oh, wait, is that it though, by chance? Or maybe it's another spreadsheet?
No, that's the spreadsheet.
Okay, never mind, sorry. So click on, or is it that one? Did you open the opportunity notes too? No. Here, click on KWB resources. Okay, scroll to the very bottom.
Oh, see, I clicked on that.
Sorry about that. And then transaction management. And so this is the opportunity notes. So they're very similar, but if you scroll down to the bottom, it's the opportunity checklist template. And just so you know, that right here is exactly what I'm telling you right now. So if you go home, you're like, what'd she say? If you click on this video, it'll just say it again. Right. And so, exactly. And so now what I'm doing is I'm clicking, copying, and pasting it in. So it's really copying and pasting it from this Excel spreadsheet into the to-do list item. So this isn't a hard thing to do, but this is tedious. Like I would say, sit down, watch a show, put your feet up, right? And get into this copied over, because once it's done, holy cow, it's done. And I had like several agents look this over, including my mom, to make sure like these are the correct steps you're supposed to take. I also want to point out that the seller checklist, so I'm guiding you guys wrong here. The seller checklist is on the bottom here. So buyer and seller tabs, right? You can see the difference for which ones to add to each one. And of course, this is just a general template. If you hate one of the ideas, don't put it. If you do something different, great, add that in there. But this gives you at least, you know, the meat and taters of what this should look like. Yeah, great. I'm so glad. Yeah, so I think I was telling you to do the seller checklist, and didn't click on the seller option on the bottom, just so you guys know. Just pay attention to if it's the seller or the buyer checklist. And then, yep, it says we're just going through and we're copying and then switching tabs to paste that in. That is one of the best things I could possibly think that you could do to set yourself up for 2024 in a great way. And no, please, I love your questions. That was not facetious either.
So where do I go again to put the?
Great question.
the
So,
tab?
we'll click on actually the opportunities pipeline. So we do need to go to the pipeline to edit this.
Okay.
And then if you click on like the cultivate, the first one, yeah, the
Yeah,
little
this-
plant. Oh yeah, that's perfect for buyers. So this is now where we can click stages and checklists. And then you bring up a good point, because okay, this is adding the checklist now for the first three, right? So stage names, right? As you can see on the Excel spreadsheet, right? Okay, these are the first three, because see, phase 1 is cultivate. So these are the 3 that are in there. But then it's going to go to phase 2 is the appointment, right? And that's what, so let's say I'm done with this one now, okay? And I click like back to, if you click back to listings, they'll just take you back to your pipeline. Because then to update the next set of checklists, I need to click on the appointment phase, right? To do the same thing now, stages and checklists up here, to go ahead and put in those 3, right? And those 3 correlate to these 3, right? And then same concept. Then for the active ones, that's when we go over to the active tab here to get in those stage and checklists. Does that make sense? I know that was pretty fast. I know. So we're really just going down the pipeline though. You have to go to each one of these separately to edit the checklists that you're seeing. So basically each one of these, each phase here, that's going to be a separate place to click to go to do those next ones.
I saw that, but somewhere I was confused. When I was adding the checklist.
Uh-huh.
I think it was under, not on here, probably something else, but when I was adding them in the stages and checklists,
Uh-huh.
I know I was doing listing. So it was somewhere in the checklist, like it don't fully, it's like, what, where did this go?
Okay, well, if you see that, I would love to hear about any of that. Like if you find that spot again. Yeah, if you guys are looking through this and like if you see something that really just doesn't line up, shoot me an email if you don't mind. That'll be very helpful for me, because I'm trying to fine tune this as much as possible. And I don't practice real estate, right? So I'm really relying on you guys a bit for your collaboration. Like, does this make sense? And if it doesn't, it would be so helpful for me and everyone else if you emailed me.
Like stage.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay, I'll look through it again. But if you see anything, let me know. Because yeah, I really want to make this as accurate as possible and such a useful tool. Because you can see how cool of a system this could be. Yeah, and great. Yep, so that's how you can now then edit the names of these. So like for watch, I have watch lead 6 to 12 months.
So just, okay, copy.
And so what we're doing now on Thursdays, so right, Tech Tuesday, that's this is the same time, 1 to 2 every Tuesday, but now we're doing a Thursday class where it's going to alternate between like a new agent command overview and then like the latest marketing tip that you need to know, or like more of like a workshop, like how can we use Instagram just released a new ability, let's say, to cut out the background of your photos, things like that. but this could be something that we do as well, right? Sit there and we're all just gonna do this together. With that being said, last thing I'm gonna say, and then I'll let you guys enjoy your day without me, is if you want to come in and you wanna sit there and we do that together, the checklist, KWB resources, right? I need tech help on the top right. It's free for you guys to meet with us up to once a week. So if you just want to schedule with us and we'll go through and we'll work on that together, right? The checklist, do it. Time block, we'll do it together. Okay. All right. And if you have any questions, shoot us an email, right? Make appointments. We have like no appointments this week, which is great, except you tomorrow. I saw you. So if you guys need us, feel free to book with us. We're here. Yeah, we do. Thank goodness.
Right now.
Yeah, all right. It's a party. Joanne, you're next. All right, guys. Oh, that was kind. That's enough, yeah. All right. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Shoot me an email. We're here for it. Okay, yeah. Okay.
No, well,
Thanks, Joanne.
I've got a question.
Okay.
Correct.